Hong Kong's airport has reopened after thousands of protesters shut it down for a fourth day. All flights were canceled when demonstrators demanding democratic reforms jammed the terminals. The city is on edge as confrontations between protesters and police grow more violent. CBS News correspondent Debora Patta has more.
Flash mob-style protests exploded across the city this weekend. This time, police showed little restraint as defiant protesters adopted a hit-and-run strategy, setting up barricades and then retreating quickly to a new location.
Police tactics have definitely changed. They're moving in a lot quicker, a lot more determined, and with a lot more force.
On one occasion, tear gas was fired at point-blank range in an underground train station, creating a terrifying stampede. Police disguised as protesters turned on demonstrators. This young man begs for mercy as he's pinned down. And this woman was hit in the eyes by a beanbag round filled with lead pellets.
Fight for freedom!
At the airport, protesters camped out to spread their message internationally. Authorities say they were forced to cancel all flights on Monday. It seemed sinister at first, as if the airport was being cleared for a showdown with police. But this did not materialize, and the protest fizzled out, although there was good reason to be worried following an ominous message from Beijing comparing the protest action to terrorism. Here at the airport, flights have been resumed in the past 30 minutes. Travelers are streaming in with only a handful of protesters around, but it's not over, they've warned. Demonstrators intend to come back on Tuesday afternoon. Elaine?
Debora Patta, thank you. The protests in Hong Kong have gained worldwide attention, not just for their size, but also for the role that technology has played on both sides. All eyes are on the Chinese government, as reports of mass surveillance have raised alarms among foreign intelligence agencies. Facial recognition and cyber monitors are reportedly being used to hinder protests. Experts are warning that there is a potential the same technology could be used in the U.S. CNET senior producer Dan Patterson spoke with Charity Wright, a former cyber threat intelligence analyst for the National Security Agency, last week at the annual Black Hat Cybersecurity Conference.
The rest of the world is kind of freaking out. Like, this is very futuristic. This makes us feel very uncomfortable. We don't like being watched in Western countries. The perspective in China is a little bit different, and a lot of the citizens have told me we feel safe because the government is controlling crime and terrorism. And so we get to operate in our normal lives, and as long as I'm doing the right thing, I don't have to worry about what they're using this camera footage for. And we hear about tourists coming in through the Xinjiang border are being forced to download malware, basically, applications on their cell phones that scan for over 73,000 different types of files that the Chinese government may find objectionable. It could be pornography, it could be terrorist files or rhetoric, but what they're looking for is actually related to minority groups that they are trying to suppress in China. And so we see that they will stop at nothing to know what's going on within their borders. We're watching something big happen in the world, and it's starting there, but it has implications for the rest of the world. Because the rest of the world, especially communist governments like Vietnam, are looking at China as the prime example of how to control data within their borders and how to monitor everything that happens.
And joining me now on set is CNET senior producer Dan Patterson. Dan, thanks so much for being with us. Really eye-opening to hear about this technology and the way that it's being used. And you talked with security experts at Black Hat. Why are they concerned about similar types of technology being used here in the U.S.?
Yeah, so what we're seeing deployed in Hong Kong, as Charity noted there, is very similar to what China deployed against the Uyghurs and other minority groups. They're using artificial intelligence, facial recognition technology, and they're breaking into the back doors or using backdoors to break into encrypted applications. Now, we saw 3 weeks ago Attorney General Barr here in the United States suggest that technology platforms be forced to integrate backdoors into their own technology platforms, and we see artificial intelligence used by ICE and other law enforcement agencies here in the United States to round up and track migrants. So we see patterns that happen using technology in China echoed back here in the United States.
So in Hong Kong, many of the protesters are using an application called Telegram to organize and respond in real time. Explain for us, what is Telegram and how is it being used specifically?
So Telegram is a messaging app, much like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, and it is developed by Russian entrepreneurs, and it is allegedly encrypted, safe, and secure. However, not a week goes by here, and I assume other reporters are very similar, but not a week goes by here that I don't have a hacker send me some backdoor or some exploit for Telegram. That app, for whatever reason, is notoriously holy. And so the application, although it is purported to be secure, is pretty easy to monitor. However, some of the protesters have then resorted to just using public Telegram channels. So they've figured out, hey, if the government is going to monitor us in these encrypted groups, let's just put it out publicly. And they, in fact, recruit other Chinese protesters as almost like PR or spokespeople to disseminate messaging. So they're kind of flipping the script on their Chinese monitors and saying, hey, look, if you're going to watch us, then watch us protest.
Wow. So it's fascinating to hear that kind of flipping the script idea. But so Telegram bills itself as an encrypted application, but you're saying there's so many gaps in it that essentially the jig is up, and Chinese authorities just have sort of open reign over these conversations that were supposed to be encrypted. So, I mean, is that essentially what's happening? They know, everyone knows that this is not perhaps the most secure application.
Yeah, so we have seen pretty shocking videos of the repercussions. And in fact, many Chinese leaders have said, if you play with fire, prepare to perish in fire. What has happened with these backdoors into allegedly encrypted applications, we should, in the West, use as foreshadowing of what could happen here. No matter what end of the partisan spectrum you're on, if you give a master key to the government, that master key won't just be used by the government. That will be used by hackers and other bad actors. Encryption backdoors make all of us unsafe.
Yeah, it is a really excellent point. All right, Dan Patterson. Dan, thank you so much.
Good to see you.